Okay, can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Excellent, likewise.
Well, you're so far away.
I know. I could yell at you. Shoot.
Okay. So, okay, we're good to go. So we got Dr. Tano and Dr. Cerna here. I think we're all set.
That's right. Amen.
Who else? Who else do we need?
Right.
Dr. Tano, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
So, is there any intermediate between on your app there between the free and the $500 a month plan?
No, but we have
You
to
got any
figure out.
takers on that $500 a month plan?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that people. I think it's worth more than that, but I just.
Well, I'm sure it's worth more than that, but it's a little steep.
So if the group wants to have a discount, I would do that. But you tell me. Yep.
So yeah. So I mean, I know no doubt that it took a ton of work.
Yeah, for this group I can do something, but other people
For this group, make it $700 a month.
700 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody else is $5, but for us it's $7.
Okay, this is funny.
Don't you know how that works?
No.
So Dr. Stachofsky, is that how you say it? You're muted.
That's it, Stachofsky. But I'm not a doctor yet, so.
So you've escaped, in other words. So I should know that. I'm losing my touch, right? Is that Polish?
It is, yeah.
So I lived in Wilkes-Barre, PA for 30 years, which is almost all Polish. So I used to be. It's been a while now. I used to be able to pronounce all those names. I had a lady in my practice. Her last name was CZWYCICZ.
Yeah.
Go pronounce that one.
Right. Yeah. Good luck.
We should try something. I think CZ is a chair or something like that.
She pronounced it Chichevich.
Chichevich, yeah, chair.
That's how she pronounced it.
Yeah. CZ is a chair. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the scientist of the year?
I was gonna bring it out. So don't ask me how. I have no idea what I did. I went to Dr. Farshian's conference over the weekend in Miami, the stem cell conference, and on Saturday night they give out awards. And every year, wasn't there last year. The year before, Dr. Schallenberger got the Scientist of the Year award, and it was my 70th birthday. They actually had a cake for me. So this time, scientist. Guess who the Scientist of the Year for the American Academy of Stem Cell Physicians is? Don't ask me how. I don't know what the hell I did.
Again.
Yeah, it was you.
Hey, you deserve it. You worked hard.
I guess I don't know. So I've had a pretty good 2 weeks here, though. So I got invited to IFM, to their international conference to speak, and I'm the person of the year at the Stem Cell People, and I'm still a bum in Reno, though. So,
It doesn't get better than that.
what, being a bum in Reno?
No, the good karma's coming. Just take it in.
There it is.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
there it is. So
Own it.
Yeah. So I've been working on my own AI program to use in the office, and you need to make sure that it's HIPAA compliant. So, oh my God, they're ridiculous. So I wanted to use Dr. Tano's, but I can't. I'm not quite in the $500 a month category just yet. So, because I signed up for Amazon and I can't even figure out how to get the AWS. I can't even figure out how to get to the account, let alone use it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's quite a process, actually.
It's they ask, are you an IAN? Are you an ND? I don't know. I said I signed up for an account and now I can't even find it. So that's that one. Then there's another one called Bastion GPT that's supposed to be HIPAA compliant, and that thing doesn't run at all. It's so slow. It's you might as well keep putting the numbers in the way we've been doing it for the last 10 years.
Right.
So I don't know if you have it, Dr. Tano, if you have any other suggestions. I was going to do Teo Pro, but 500
But
a month.
we have to talk. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
we can always talk.
All right. All right. So we can twist your arm, right? So
Give
Right.
Dr. Turner a little wink.
I mean, I don't know what I can offer you. It's not like, if we have a conference, I mean, it's not like you're not going to be the leadoff speaker like you always are. So I give you a cut at a gate, but we lost money on the last one. So,
Yeah. If you can arrange for all these people to invite me sometime to speak, that would be nice.
all right. How many do I have to sign up? How many do I have to sign up at $500 a clip to get a discount?
Oh no, nothing. I mean,
No? Okay. All
no.
right. All right. Well, we'll talk later. Nobody else is listening.
Right.
Because we're gonna jump on it too. If Bill's gonna get a discount, we're gonna.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to tell you about that.
Tano, why'd you do that to Dr. Bill? What about us?
I think this group is family, so we can do a family and etc. We can figure out.
We have a 501c3. I mean, we're actually a quote unquote charitable, whatever you.
Yeah.
So,
You're gonna fund the Bill Clearfield's charity.
yeah.
Right.
See. And yeah. So, okay. So we got, it's about 5 o'clock. So, so I'm getting a lot of questions about the next live event. Does anybody have any, is Reno okay for everybody? I know it's a bit of a stretch on the East Coast. You got to take 2 planes. Was that a deterrent? So I mean, Marlene was here and Dr. Burgess wasn't, but some of the East Coast people, I don't know if that's a deterrent, because you can't get there from east of the Mississippi without stopping somewhere.
It wasn't fun, but it's doable.
Just make sure the TSA is back.
Yeah.
I had no problems. I left Thursday night and I came back Saturday or Sunday night. I had no problems. I had no wait. When I have to go to Miami again in April, I take the red eye. So I get there, I leave at 11 o'clock at night, and I get there in Miami at 9 in the morning, and there's no lines to wait for. You get there, and then on the way home, I had no problem either. So
I just went to San Diego and back, and I did not have any problems.
So yeah, so
But in Atlanta, you'll end up being
Just
there for 30 hours.
stay away from Dallas and stay away from New York. I think in Chicago you're okay.
And Atlanta.
No, I went to Atlanta. I had no problem at all. But I got there at 6 in the morning, and I was already in the airport, because I left Reno at 11 at night. And
Yeah, I think it's mainly leaving out of Atlanta. People are saying it's about anywhere from 5 to 30 hours leaving Atlanta.
So it was a little late getting out of Miami, and I had to go run to get to the plane to make Reno. So I got home, the same night. But other than that, I had no problem. I didn't have to wait in any lines or anything. So, okay. So, can we call you Dr. Dan or Mr. Dan, or what do we call you?
Yeah, you can do that. Or just call me
Okay.
Dan the Energy Man.
Dan the Energy Man. Okay, so we usually start Dr. Tano over here to your right. is taking the integrative medicine course with Andrew Weil. So he gives us a tip of the week,
That's
and that way the rest of us don't have to do it. So usually we start with that. It's about 5 minutes, and then we'll get into your program. And by then we'll have a fair number of our participants in.
Right.
Okay. So Dr. Tano, what do you got for us this week?
Is that me or is it Dr. Nario?
Dr. Nario. Are you
Yeah.
Dr. Tano? Oh, Dr. Tano, are you taking the integrative medicine course?
No,
You
Dr.
are.
Nario.
You give it. I should know better. You give the
Dr.
integrative
Nario
medicine course.
Dr. Nario is so.
Yeah, I should know better, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
scientist.
Because remember, I'm the scientist of the year. So
Yeah. Okay, so let's explore a peptide here. It offers another route for enhancing anti-aging, and usually heard from biohackers and bodybuilders. So by navigating the downstream effect of growth hormone, which is the pathway. So this is a peptide called IGF-1 LR3. So the peptide that sounds like a Wi-Fi password, right? But promises to turn back the clock and put sarcopenia on its brakes. So let's separate the hype from the actual studies. So IGF-1 LR3, right, is native IGF-1 on steroids, basically. And it is adding 13 amino acids up front and swapping the glutamic acid for arginine at position 3, thus LR3. And suddenly it ignores IGF binding proteins like a stealth. So IGF binding proteins doesn't bind to it, thus leading to it lasting 20 to 30 hours instead of 10 minutes, and hits the IGF-1 receptor about 3 times harder, and it's giving your cells basically a double espresso and yelling, grow faster. Well, the clinical data for this, impressive, but a little terrifying. So the study, I think, was in 1994. Thomas and colleagues gave LR3 to tumor-bearing rats. Results, of course, muscle protein turnover went up like a bodybuilder like in a competition, but the tumor growth as well. So classic growth factor with fine prints, right? Another one is sheep and neonatal rat models. LR3 drove selective organ growth, heart, kidney, intestines, you name it. And myoblast for proliferation was better than native IGF-1. So Yoshida and De La Fontaine 2020 review confirmed it's a beast at blocking atrophy pathways, pushing skeletal muscle hypertrophy. So in the lab, it's basically a cellular cheerleader. So meaning it's really good in animals and petri dishes. But what about human evidence? It's still playing hard to get. So no large RCTs on LR3 itself, even for anti-aging or even sarcopenia. We borrow mostly the studies for this by using the native IGF-1 studies. So elderly subjects saw increased whole body and muscle protein synthesis in short-term trials on the 2014 review, and even in obese postmenopausal women, growth hormone IGF-1 combo delivered better fat loss results while hanging on to, of course, lean mass. This is Thompson's study in 1998. And one small study even noted improvement in mood scores. But here's the punchline. 1 year of IGF-1 in postmenopausal women failed to budge muscle mass significantly. Translation, promising signals, but not exactly turning 60-year-olds into Olympic lifters yet. And on 2026 review, still begging for proper human trials. So safety reality check here is the big epidemiological study of 400,000 people link higher endogenous IGF-1 to increase risk. All right, so here's the caveat of prostate, breast, colorectal, and thyroid cancer. So we know this already. So LR3's extra potency means we watch this like hawks, and hypoglycemia is the most common short-term prank it pulls on planets. Basically planets of all these patients. The point here is, again, we know this as doctors, but as you would see this in the clinics, a lot of bodybuilders and anti-aging aficionados are not aware of this, but we have to emphasize on that. So basically, IGF-1 LR3 has compelling preclinical anabolic and regenerative punches, but human data still working on it. So use it only in careful screen patients with baseline glucose IGF-1 cancer screening, tight monitoring, cycling, rock solid informed consent. It's a tool, not a miracle. and definitely not something to hand out like samples at a conference. But only research, as you will find out, is definitely not FDA approved. And again, growth hormone use only for the one that is approved, IGF-1, is for children who actually has growth hormone deficiency. So that's our leak of the week.
I know I brought this up before, but our good friend Terry Hertog over in Brussels shows this slide with those that have the highest IGF-1 levels in the highest quartile have less cancers than those that are in the lowest quartile. So how do we explain that?
Well, really the explanation there is to prevent that growth hormone to go down. And you have to remember that there are natural ways to increase IGF-1 as well, right? Our basic sleep, nutrition, stress, lowering down stress. But when you talk about aging, so aging is really a hard thing to beat. If it was my approach, I would still go for as my number one, I guess, weapon for this would be the growth hormone stimulators, meaning you're not actually stimulating IGF-1 directly. You're going through the indirect pathways, right? The CJCs, the ghrelin stimulators. So these are, I think for me, this is my clinical opinion, that they are safer ways to stimulate IGF-1 rather than going for the real growth hormone or IGF-1 substitutions. I mean, that's me.
A lot of times we don't get a whole lot of results with the CJCs. I mean, I've been using them for a long time, and a lot of times it doesn't move the needle at all.
Right. Well, here's the thing with the IGF-1 levels. The thing with, especially with this LR3, so studies had been done that they were using IGF-1 to monitor the effectivity of LR3. They were seeing that it's actually not moving the needle in terms of you're just looking at IGF-1. The reason for that is IGF-1 actually has been deposited to the organs where it needs to work on. So what you're seeing basically is circulating IGF-1 that has not been utilized or it has not been used yet. So their suggestion on that specific study is use IGF-1 still when you're using these IGF, analogs to monitor if you're actually going up so high to the point that you're stimulating cancer or too much growth on a specific tissue. So really, there are studies that saying that IGF-1 is so not reliable. I think you mentioned that BP3, right, is even the binding protein is a more accurate way to read through the levels of growth hormone, or even do a 24-hour urine sampling for growth hormone. I think that's the most accurate one to really see it.
So actually, there are some of the professional supplement companies, they offer growth hormone support, and I think they use L-arginine to do that, and that seems to be working somehow if you take it.
Yeah, and I agree with Dr. Tano that really, if you can avoid growth hormone or IGF-1 directly, I mean that's a safer approach for me when I see patients. Right. So again, CJC, the tesamorelins, I kind of rely more on clinical results rather than the actual clinical laboratory numbers that I see when I use that.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on epigenetic testing prior?
That's a good question. So I don't use genetic testing when I use this growth hormone receptor. So I don't have any experience with that. Unless, have you? I mean, do you have any recommendations in relation to see if a growth hormone, a secretagogue, would be an effective peptide for a patient?
So Sorry, Reels, I'm muted, and I have no idea why I have San Francisco in the background. But anyways, so I've been doing, teaching peptide classes, but I don't actually give peptides I'm in Georgia, and so it's a little more strict, which is fascinating that someone without a medical license can probably get away with it more so than somebody with. But I would say what it helps me to see in the epigenetic and looking at SNPs and such is try not to clog the pathway of things that they don't need as much to be optimized. So it helps me prioritize, for neuroinflammatories and things like that. But I would say I haven't done as far as like your growth factor, you know what I mean? I'm more of hesitant if there is more of a risk of tumor burden, to to give something like that. But it's tricky because of the studies, right? You know, what we see with, as you were saying before, to me, it all has to do with the HPA, you know, hypothalamic pituitary axis, and making sure we don't knock it out. And so
really, yeah, that's a good point that you brought up. But really, the trick for me, I think, as I've seen cancer in my career, the trick here really is to prevent that growth hormone to dip down to zero. So as early as possible, as you actually kind of save that growth hormone from getting a flat line.
Right.
It's probably the key there. Before it crashes out, make sure you elevate that in whatever way possible you have. May it be natural, may it be through peptides. It's just that dipping down might be too late when you intervene.
And I like to see the trends too, so that we see, okay, when I felt like this was my baseline, or you know what I mean? So you can at least have something to work with, rather than I feel good or better, right? It's like, okay, well, here's clinically, this was relates to this. Yeah. Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
I loved the first 5 minutes.
Well,
I do. It's awesome.
We're going to ask Dr. Dan, since he's a wireless infrastructure, cloud, and AI guy, to show us how to skim off the first 5 minutes of all of our videos with Dr. Nario, so we can put it into our own, make our own course. Okay,
Heck yeah.
so
Thank you.
okay, so somebody other than Dr. Tano here should know how to do it. So we don't want to lean on him too much there. He carries a heavy burden for us. So okay, thank you, sir, as always. So tonight we have Dan Stachofsky. Did I say that right? Dr. Dan?
Yeah, Stachofsky. Thank you.
Stachofsky. Okay, and Dan is a former tech executive who served Fortune 100 clients such as Microsoft and Amazon during the foundational rise of wireless infrastructures like cloud and AI. Following a family health crisis, he became aware of the effect of the modern EMF dense environment. In a search for solutions, he became an EMF and bioresonance researcher who specializes in quantum biophysics and a unique light optimizing technology with the goal of holistically restoring immune and brain function. In 2017, Dan began coaching people on how to make healthier, safer places with less EMF stress. Today, he leads Essential Energy, a 508c1a, whatever that is. You'll explain that? Non-profit with a mission to bring education and share solutions to help people break from this EMF crisis, with a focus on improving the quality of the environment in and around us. And without further ado, Dan, take it away.
Thank you for having me here. Let me get my presentation set up. It's going to be a little bit different, but yeah, I can definitely go into what we are as an organization for you. And we can do that now in the Q&A probably too, but let me get all this technical stuff set up for us. So let's see here. Get that going. And I think we're underway. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Respect all your time and all we have going on today. There's so much going on keeping us busy. And tonight we get to talk about sunshine, light, and why EMF protection goes deeper than the surface. I do have some slides, but I'd probably be maybe talking more as well as we go through this. But I'm finding that as we go and as I talk more and more about the topic and the things I offer and all, it's just we've spent a lot of time talking about biology and chemistry and everything in our health. And even I deal with a lot of farmers. Probably 50% of my time is working with agriculture. And I do that across the states and into Canada. And these farmers are incredibly smart biologists, and they understand chemistry. They know if they put nitrogen on the soil that they're going to get their plants are going to grow faster because the energy from the nitrogen goes right into the plants. What we're talking about is actually the physics, the mechanisms of how that gets in there. And the reason we have to deal with that tonight is because of the environment that we're around. And I'm hoping that by the end of tonight, you've probably all heard of electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic fields from your cell phones, power lines, and you probably have gone deep on all of that. Maybe even have some protection for yourself on your phones, or maybe even your homes. What I'm hoping to do is shine a little bit of a light on why light is so critical, and how it's being disrupted, and what that's doing to our bodies, but not leaving it there, but actually offering a solution that a way out of that, right? And so let me start with a simple question. What if one of the biggest factors affecting our health today is something you can't see, or can't even smell, right? Or can't taste. And most of us, may not even be trained to look for this, because for the last 100 years we've been taught to understand the body maybe through chemistry. I don't know, we all have different emphasis, but majority of people, we think along, think of proteins, hormones, nutrients, pathways. And that model definitely has value. It's helped a lot of people, we can't deny that, but it doesn't fully explain everything, and it has left some people behind as they continue to search out for solutions as to what's causing their pain or their disease or their discomfort. A lot of things don't get answered simply looking at it from a mechanistic perspective. So we have to kind of go deeper maybe and ask, well, how does the body stay organized? How does the body function? My personal story, this is where I got to. I had a daughter who was born early. This was our health crisis. She was born early with ended up having kind of a global diagnosis with a primary immune deficiency, very rare vasculitis, brain function, dysfunction, and other kind of thought of her as kind of 80% there. But we learned how to help her out, and she became quite functional and very engaging. She'd write people letters, she could ride bicycles, she became very beautiful. But one thing that never quite got solved was her immune function, her infections. She would often end up having to go into the hospital for antibiotics or more invasive procedures the whole first 7 years of her life, 2 to 3, maybe even 4 times a year. This was a constant thing. My wife and I could set our clock by it. Every 2 to 3 months, she was going to get an infection, and just depending on, we didn't know how severe it was going to get, because her body didn't have the energy to fight off that infection. And so I started asking myself, well, how do we organize the body? How do all the trillions of cells in our body work together in perfect coordination instead of all the chaos? And at some point, that question shifted from what is the body made of to what organizes it. And that's where things started to get interesting. Maybe some of you have even heard of Dr. Gerald Pollack's work with the University of Washington, where he discovered that kind of challenges the way we think about the body at a fundamental level. They found that water, the substance that makes up most of our body, does not always behave like a simple liquid. When water is next to a biological surface, it reorganizes itself into a structured, charge separated state. It builds order, it holds energy, it excludes impurities, and most importantly, to our topic tonight, it responds to light. Pollack called this the fourth phase of water, or the exclusion zone. And he said the exclusion zone could expand. He wasn't the first. Several before him, including Gilbert Ling, Albert Szent-Györgyi, and Mei-Wan Ho, or others, who said water forms like a crystalline matrix, structured form. And they all emphasized water's role in bioenergetics and coherence. So it's measurable, it's a repeatable physical effect. And naturally, you know, I started to ask the next question, which was what contributes the most to building this structured water inside the body? Because it seemed like if you had more of that, your body was more balanced, more structured, or more organized. And the answer is something that's around us every single day. It's sunlight. Sunlight is not just something that helps us see. It's not just for helping our body produce vitamin D. It's actually a biological signal. Your body is constantly being programmed by light. And that's by not just light in general, but the intensity of the light, the frequency of light, the wavelength, the timing of the light exposure. This is why circadian biology became so important that it earned a Nobel Prize in 2017, offered to Jeffrey Hall, Michael Rosbash, and Michael Young. They showed how we have a built-in clock that runs through a protein cycle tied to light and darkness. Light controls gene expression. It regulates hormones. It tells our body when to wake up, when to sleep, when to repair, and when to reproduce energy. John Ott, decades ago, showed that full spectrum light impacts growth, mood, and recovery. He discovered that when he was trying to do time-lapse photography for Disney productions. And the fluorescent lights that he was working on were affecting the way that the pumpkin he was trying to get a time lapse of, it was changing the way it germinated, the way it would flower, the way it would mature. And then he found that different colors of fluorescent light did different things to the plant. And he realized this artificial light, even in the 70s and the 60s, was harmful to biology. So when we can go deeper, we find something even more powerful. It's your mitochondria. And that, you know, the mitochondria doesn't just receive energy from our food that we eat. Some argue that most of their energy actually comes from light, that sunlight and biophotons actually interact with the mitochondria. Research shows that specific wavelengths of light, especially in the red or near infrared spectrum, can increase ATP production. You've probably heard about photobiomodulation. It helps reduce oxidative stress. For instance, 630 to 660 nanometer can increase ATP production, increase cell proliferation, repair, and reduce inflammation. And 800 to 880 nanometer can raise ATP production, mitochondrial respiration, and reduce oxidative stress. That happens through the improved electron transport along, and that wavelength also has neuroprotective effects. So light in these ranges interacts with mitochondria. It does it through photon absorption through the cytochrome C oxidase. It displaces nitric oxide, blocking respiration, and restores electron transport chain flow. One example is that it can interact, help with improved vision just by going out and looking at the sun. People call it sun gazing. And there's different times of the day that have different benefits for that. And when you look at the sun, it leads to an increase in proton gradient, ATP synthesis, and lower electron leakage, which leads to lower reactive oxygen species. So what's interesting is with the red light therapy and all, these are wavelengths that have been studied and there's evidence of their success. But an important reminder, sunlight, natural light, already contains all these frequencies in natural balance along with the entire spectrum. And that's biologically active. It's abundant. Red and near infrared is abundant at both sunrise and sunset. Let me just take a step and we'll talk a little bit about the eyes for a minute. Now, this might change how you think about light, sleep, and your hormones, or you might already know about this, but most people think of their eyes are just for seeing. But there's emerging circadian biology that your eyes are actually one of the most powerful control systems in your entire body. Because inside your eyes, you have something called a melanopsin. And melanopsin is light sensitive protein. It doesn't help you see, it doesn't help you see. It helps your body tell time. It's directly connected to your brain's master clock, the SCN. And that clock controls everything: your sleep, your hormones, your metabolism, even how your mitochondria produce energy. So every time light hits your eyes, you're not just seeing, you're sending a command to your entire biology, which is part of what the conversation we're having tonight is light, is all light created equal? Because right now I'm indoors, I've got a light looking at me, I've got screen blue light at me, and this blue light is at a Kelvin temperature of between 5,700 to 6,500 probably. Same with your phones. Whereas right now, the evening and the sunset, we're dimming it down, and you're probably around 2,000. So the light that is hitting my eyes right now is in a different frequency, different intensity than what nature would be wanting to communicate to my body. And that sends a certain command, a certain signal to my body. It hits my eyes, goes to my hypothalamus, into my pineal gland, into the SCN, and it changes how our body operates, how our hormones are produced. Our thyroid is affected by that. Same with, if our clock is off, our digestion can be affected. So there's ramifications for this. We were talking about GLP-1s earlier. Maybe our digestion, is it affected by blue light? Is it affected by the non-native EMF environment around us? And if we help patients solve that and improve their EMF environment, could that also help their weight management? There's a lot of science that would indicate that that's something worth definitely like exploring and looking at. So this is where things start to go sideways in this modern world. Melanopsin is especially sensitive to blue light. It's around 460 to 480 nanometer range. In nature, blue light comes from the sun, especially during the midday. That midday, that's energizing. And in nature, naturally, that's what we want during the midday. Go out at noon or 1 o'clock and gaze near the sun, and you don't need that afternoon coffee. I think you'll feel energized from it. But it's always balanced with red and infrared light at what are exactly how nature, our biology wants. It's how it's evolved and how it's developed. So that balance is what makes sunlight healthy. In the morning, blue light, if the first thing you look at in the morning is your phone, you're telling your body it's already midday. We skipped over the 4 or 5 or 6 hours of a time that our body would naturally use to slowly grow into that wavelength. And we've just shocked the system. If we look at our phones late at night, it's the same thing. We're tricking our brain. We're sending a command that it's midday, we should be alert and alive. And then when we turn our phone off and try to fall asleep, we struggle to fall asleep, or we struggle. We may fall asleep, but then we don't have deep sleep. We don't get into that deep delta sleep or the recovery sleep. Our REM and is not as effective as it could be. And most likely we're not getting those quality hours before midnight that lead to quality sleep. So our blue light from our phones is telling us, and our devices, wake up, increase cortisol, start your day. Here's the problem. At night, we're surrounded by that. And so we want to manage that. And unlike sunlight, this blue light is unbalanced. It's artificial. It's actually not biologically compatible, because it's missing the red and infrared frequencies that our biology is expecting. Now, there are some lighting companies who are coming out with LED lights that have filaments built into them, filling in that spectrum, so that you don't just get the LED, the narrow band of frequency that comes from the LED light, but you're getting you're filling in with the near and infrared lights as well. So there are people who are looking to solve this problem. But when the blue light hits your eyes at night, that melanopsin gets activated. It sends the wrong message to your brain, tells your body a state time when it's 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. And this is where melatonin comes in. Melatonin is your body's recovery hormone. It's what helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, repair your cells, detox your brain, and regulate your hormones. Normally, when it gets dark, melanopsin quiets down and melatonin rises. But when you're exposed to blue light at night, melanopsin stays active and the melatonin gets suppressed. So now your body is stuck in this confused state. It's tired, but it's like wired, right? It's exhausted, but kind of unable to recover as well. So with non-native electromagnetic fields, things from your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cell phone, smart devices, but even from the wiring in your house, it doesn't just affect your body, it amplifies that damage of blue light as well. So it's a compounding effect, especially in the eyes. Astigmatisms can be formed by this because it's an inflammatory response protecting the body. So the body's not broken, but what it's doing is it has a natural protective response, which is inflammation, to help protect it from the assault of the non-native EMF. So it can alter how our cells handle electrons, how calcium flows, and how our mitochondria function. And in the retina, this may make melanopsin even more sensitive. So now we've got this combination, blue light's hitting our eyes at night, plus non-native EMF in the environment. And together they're sending a stronger, more chaotic signal to our brain. And this creates a cascade. I just read an article study last week that said tinnitus or tinnitus is actually associated with poor quality sleep. Well, if what we're just saying about blue light and non-native EMF environment is contributing to poor sleep, there is a connection between the environment we live in and the habits we have with tinnitus and that ringing in the ears. So if our sleep gets disrupted, we get less sleep, less REM, less deep delta sleep. Then our hormones start to shift. Cortisol stays elevated at night. Dopamine begins to drop. That affects motivation and focus. And I believe that one of the things that doesn't get talked about in the EMF circles is the effect that EMF has on mental health. A lot of people are suffering with depression, isolation, and loneliness. And I wonder how much of that is caused by this dopamine effect, that we lose motivation, we lose effect. There was a study out of India they did 25,000 student elementary and secondary grade students, and they looked at their age when they received a smartphone. And the younger they were, so the earlier in their life that they received a smartphone, the more depressed they were, the more anxiety, the more ADHD effects they had, and the more likely they were to have suicidal thoughts before graduating high school. So this environment and this technology is contributing to serious things. It's not really just it's more of a crisis, not so much inconvenience anymore. It even affects our sex hormones. Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone get thrown off. And with our thyroid can slow down. So how much does EMF and blue light toxicity affect the autoimmune issues on the thyroid? And underneath all this, the mitochondria, our energy is struggling. It's not there's inflammation happening, it's getting bad signals from the light, and it will produce less ATP and more free radicals. So because melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone, it's actually one of the most powerful antioxidants inside our mitochondria. So when melatonin drops, oxidative stress rises, energy production falls, and over time the system breaks down. So here's a couple of the key ideas from that. The eye is the fastest way to change your biology. It's faster than food.
Excuse me, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Someone just asked if you are advancing your slides.
I'm not necessarily right now.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, I know I normally have like a lot of slides that go with everything, but this one I'm more talking. But I will get to more slides a little bit here in a minute. So thank you. Good. So the eyes, so we've often looked to our nutrition. I'm a functional nutritionist as well. I don't practice that inherently, except for with my family and colleagues, but we look to nutrition, right, to help change our biology. We look to supplements maybe, or but really the eyes, the light that comes in, we underestimate the effect that and how quickly light can change our biology and our chemistry. Because light entering our eyes, it's a direct signal into your brain and your hormones. So it's a different picture of the body. It's not just chemical, but it's electrical. And in my world, it's photonic. That's a kind of this quantum biophysics concept of that we are electrical beings, we're frequency, and we're photonic. And the photons around us, what not just visible, but the entire electromagnetic spectrum interacts with our bodies through our skin and through our eyes all day, throughout the day. And we can't filter it, but we respond to it. So going back kind of to the water, I wonder if I have a slide on that, but real quick, I'll hit on the water. Water plays an essential role in all of this because inside every cell, water surrounds our mitochondria and our proteins. This water, it's not random, it's structured, it's that crystalline structure, it's that Pollock and May-Wan Ho talk about. That structure allows it to store charge, to act almost like a battery system inside the cell. So think about it this way: light builds the structure, and that structure holds the energy, and the mitochondria use that energy to power the body. And if we go a little deeper, physics tells us that photons excite the electrons. For instance, Albert Popp discovered that inside the body, photons are not random, but they're coherent. They're laser-like. Now, electrons are organized into synchronized oscillations. This is what I mean by coherent. This creates a coherent field in the cells where DNA acts as a source and regulator of the biophotons, which interact with the electrons across molecules. The result is the body forms a coherent electromagnetic field, allowing the photon electron interaction to transmit what amounts to information. So this is where we get into the concept that before the biochemistry, we have electromagnetism, and those electromagnetic fields are sending information or transmitting frequencies to enable and to really coordinate the biochemistry. Meaning the cells communicate using light signals. And when I say light, it's not always visible, but it's in the infrared or UV or the broader spectrum of electromagnetics. So once those electrons fall back to a lower energy state, they emit a photon, which is an ultra weak infrared emission. Those biophotons also come from DNA, and they also come from the mitochondria, and these can be measured and visualized. Fritz Albert Popp, I'll get to this, said, we live in a sea of light. Every cell in our body has 100,000 chemical reactions a second, and each cell requires that energy from a biophoton to function normally. In my time with working with Jane with the concept of all of this was one of the biggest epiphanies I had, was if light is that important and it could improve the quality of the environment inside her, then at this fundamental level, at the photon electron level, if I can make that work better and more coherent, then I believe everything else would start to work more efficiently. And there's research that shows that when we get it into a calm environment, the signaling is improved, and that leads to improved mitochondrial function, better metabolic health, and thyroid hormone balance. So when we if we take a step back and look at the system and how this all relates to light and water, kind of the bigger picture, we kind of dove super deep into the biophysics. But when we come back, we realize that, our body is made up of about 60% water. Cells make up about 70 to 90% water, depending on the cell type. So water is really a fundamental aspect of what we're dealing with. And water it holds memory, it holds frequency, and can be affected by all these electromagnetic fields. So if we consider the environment we're in, we have to recognize that light is affecting that water. Good quality light, let's take pure sunlight, creates order. Non-native EMF, blue light toxins, artificial EMF can create disorder. So now let's say if sunlight can create order and water holds that order, if we're surrounding ourselves with all this non-native EMF and we're not being protected or harmonizing that, then our water and our cells can be chaotic or stressed or disordered. I think that's kind of that's a good logical flow. So the mitochondria is working. Mitochondria can't decipher, or it doesn't filter what type of light it's going to work with or what type of water it's going to work with. It just converts whatever it can out of the water into usable energy. And the body maintains the coherence that is associated with the environment that it's in. This is why people would say, hey, you can't get healthy if you stay in the same environment that made you healthy. Our body is interacting with that environment all the time. Our DNA is responding to it. Our mitochondria at the nanosecond level, even more frequent than that, always adapting to decide how much energy or what to do with that. And this leads to kind of the harmony versus disharmony discussion, or ease versus dis-ease. So it's a complex system, but it functions pretty straightforward when we kind of think of it a little bigger picture, that if we can get good quality light, then our water can be ordered and our mitochondria then can easily convert that into energy that our body then uses. So I think I've kind of hit on this a bit already, but that's the problem we run into. We live in an environment that is anything but balanced, anything but harmonized today. This is taken from the book The Invisible Rainbow, and it shows that this, over the last 250 years or so, we've had a increase of electromagnetic radiation from the use of electricity throughout now the last 250 years, and it's grown rapidly in the last 100 years. And our present exposure to this is a million billion times. That's like one quintillion times greater than our natural exposure to those frequencies. So our environment is just not the same. I call it the age of non-native EMF. It's all around us, and so we're in this ocean of artificial electromagnetic signals, something like kind of depicted like this, that we just can't escape from. And when we think about EMFs, I think generally most people think of cell phones, cell towers, Bluetooth, smart devices, Wi-Fi routers, but it's actually also LED lighting, and it's also coming from the EMF, which is electromagnetic fields, also comes from electricity, and it's the alternating current of electricity that's the real villain. Everything else is just using that alternating current to be powered up. So the smart devices that are plugged in, they transmit a wireless signal, but they're using that alternating current as its base. And so it's the electricity, which some people call electrodensity, is what is disrupting our circadian rhythm and our biology at that quantum physics level. So it's not just wireless. And that's why when we talk about our solutions, or how we come in and think about EMF health, we want solutions that both harmonize the wireless, but also clean up what we call dirty electricity, which is the transients and the that are found on the wiring in our walls and the power lines that run along the streets and between power plants and data centers. And it's becoming a major, major issue with all these AI data centers now popping up all over the country. I've had several farmers who may have heard me talk 3-4 years ago call me up and say, hey, I'm having a data center put in close to my house, and they're going to run the power lines right through my farm. I need to do something about this. And so we're able to offer them some coaching and advice on that. But the dirty electricity is a distorted electrical current. It's high frequency noise and transients that ride on your wiring. So instead of the sine wave of the electricity being pure, it's actually it's got chaotic frequency signals on it that is unstable, and it burns out control panels, motors, and it actually wreaks havoc on our bodies as well, because it's all signals, it's all frequency, and the magnetic field and the electrical field run into that. The magnetic field, long-term exposure, leads to neurological delay and dysfunction, and the electrical fields creates stimulation on the nerves. So we've created this cacophony, right? This noisy system, and here's the key point: is our body just doesn't know how to filter those signals. It just responds to it. Fritz Albert Popp actually talked about this. He called it, the problem is called the malillumination. It's like what malnutrition is to food, but malillumination is what our bodies are struggling with. We aren't getting that light. In another way to look at this is some work that the Bioinitiative report in 2012 and Dr. Martin Paul talked about, was this activation of the voltage gated ion channels. In this slide, we're talking about the calcium channels. Like, this is part of your fight or flight response. This is what should be activated when you're running from the bear or that tiger. But when you escape and you get out of that stressed moment, the channel should return to normal, and you should go into a rest and repair period. We see this with the animals in the wild all the time. After a hunt, a lion will rest, and he'll actually calm down, and he'll rest for a long time. If an antelope escapes the lion, the antelope will rest for a long period of time. At the cellular metabolic level, because of the non-native EMF in our environment today, we don't get that rest. Biologically, chemically, we may still be able to talk about rest, but at the physics level, we just don't get that rest anymore. And that leads to a lot of downstream things that are problems, but the nitric oxide suppression, and then peroxide nitrate and systemic inflammation. So there's a lot more to go on all that, but this is some of the processes that we run into because of the environment. So if light builds structure and coherence and order, what happens when we run into this environment? We lose that structure. Mitochondria lose efficiency, the system loses organization. So it's a system-wide dysfunction. We kind of run into these chronic diseases. Arthur Furstenberg, in his book, The Invisible Rainbow, says chronic disease like heart disease, diabetes, and cancers have increased along the same path as our increase in electrodensity. So there's a correlation. Obviously, there's other factors in that, but the effect of electricity and EMF on our bodies, it can't be ignored. And so it can lead to fatigue, shows up in a lot of people as fatigue, disrupted sleep, poor sleep, brain fog, hormonal imbalance, metabolic challenges. And that's kind of where we need to shift how we think, because it's not just a chemical, biological problem, but it's a physics problem. So today, that environment is our environment's overloaded with these signals, and our body just never gets a chance to rest. So the question is, what do we do about it? Because we don't want to just focus on the problem. We want to focus on what do we do? Well, awareness is a huge part of it, right? And I talk about EMF health or EMF health checks, because awareness without action doesn't really change anything. We want to know. We don't want to just be informed. We want to know what we can do. So, and we're here. This is what this is about: is education and providing easy solutions. So, but so that we can be empowered. And really, there's kind of two approaches. We can first block or reduce, or we can look to improve the body's ability to adapt and remain balanced. So we can block or harmonize. In blocking, there's definitely value. We can put shielding paint on the walls. We can line our bed with these sleep curtains that are lined with cloth. A lot of people who are highly sensitive will actually make clothing out of this lined cloth that works as a shielding fabric. So we can block, and there's a place for that. We can also reduce exposure. It's definitely necessary, like turning off Wi-Fi at night, keeping our phones off or on airplane mode when we're not using it, not carrying it in our pocket. Again, that the EMF right by our reproductive system it does lower sperm count in men and affects our reproduction. And I think the long-term effects of holding it right on our hip hasn't been really fleshed out, but I would imagine there's going to be a weakness in the hips and in the muscles there that might lead to more of those hip replacements. So other things we can do, if your smart meter on your home is right outside your bedroom, switch to the other wall. Don't sleep next to the smart meter. Don't sleep next to your phone. Don't sleep next to your alarm clock. In your new cars, turn Wi-Fi off. They all come with Wi-Fi. You can turn Wi-Fi off. When you're driving, turn your Wi-Fi in Bluetooth off. If you're in a place where you have a hotspot, or you're in your office and you have Wi-Fi, you don't need your cell phone. Your cell signal doesn't need to be turned on. So you can turn off all the antennas that you don't need and just use the only ones that you have. It's a reduction. But we want to be mindful of these things. These are all good steps, but I think we can be clear that, or honest, that we can't eliminate EMF from our life. It's everywhere. And even if we controlled our own environment, there are still signals coming from outside, from our neighbors or even others in our rooms and our offices that we can't control. So what we talk about is, how do we harmonize that then? Because that's like now if we can harmonize our body, keep our body in balance, actually give our body good structured light all the time, everywhere we go, then we're balanced. Now we're getting good light that's ordered, that keeps the water ordered, keeps the mitochondria functioning better. We could get assaulted, but because our body is already working well, we adapt to that. We can, they call it the EMF stress response. We can have a natural stress response instead of always being heightened. Or some people, their EMF stress response, their normal is they don't feel it at all. Their body has become numb to it. And we want to avoid some of that. So at Essential Energy, we take the approach of, how do we help people harmonize their environment? Instead of asking, how do we block everything, we ask, how do we help the body stay strong in a world that we actually live in? So our approach is based on what we call resonant photonic harmonic technology. Resonant means working with the body's natural frequencies. Photonic refers to light, the fundamental signal that drives biology. Harmonic means we incorporate all the harmonics of light. It's a frequency, just like sound has harmonics, light has harmonics, and we build this full spectrum frequency into the medium, which is stainless steel plates. These plates retain that structure for life. We've fundamentally changed the actual nature of the metal. So the metal, it's not a coating, it doesn't wear out over time. It actually, now that metal is producing this resonant photonic harmonic every time light hits it. And again, it could be our biophotons, which are weak infrared. It could be visible. It could be UV. It could be anything on the electromagnetic spectrum. Whenever those natural photons interact with the plates, those photons become harmonized and become more biologically compatible and active. So this helps the body maintain organization, even in this chaotic non-native EMF world. Let me see. And so how do we know this is working? Well, I think we're, Dr. Clearfield, was it about 45 minutes you wanted me to go, or about how long did we have?
Usually you can go to an hour, hour and a half.
Okay. All right. Then I can calm down a little bit. Okay. So good. Well, one of the things, this is a visualization of our body's biophotons, or even photons in an apple or a leaf or a flower. So these things can be visualized. The body has certain frequencies that have been mapped, and these frequencies are where it's in balance. This would be in harmony. We can take a body voltage meter and actually measure our frequency to see if we're in sync or not. You know, if we're always having brain fog, we may not be at 20 to 30 hertz. It might be lower, it might be higher. So it's not, so this isn't just a single layer problem. In order to keep the body balanced, we look at kind of a layered approach. How do we harmonize? And then how do we remove that dirty electricity? And over the years, I've come with a package, a combination of things that help us to do just that. And it's been, so we look at the electrical environment. That's where something like dirty electricity becomes important. We use a suppression filter or surge protector that goes right on the electrical panel and cleans up the electricity. And then we have our harmonizing technology in the plates. So how do we know this is working? How do we know we're creating this stable, balanced environment? How do we know that we're supporting the individual, right? And with my farmers, how do I know that I'm supporting the farm, the cattle? Because they run into the same issues. All these animals are exposed 24/7, and that we see in dairies that their milk production is reduced, their fertility is lower, their conception rates are dropping off. They'll have stillborn, higher rates of stillborn. And their immune systems are struggling. They have higher somatic cell counts. They have mastitis that is recurring. How do we know that this is helping? And so we've done live blood analysis. And this is an example. This is what we did. This is a max light tower. This is someone here in the top right corner with one of the plates. That what you do is just hold it for 10 minutes. So I've got one here. You just hold it for 10 minutes over your chest or anywhere on the body, and you go from being this kind of rouleau state of blood into what is on the right side balanced. And we have Dr. Marlene Siegel here. She actually did some live blood analysis as well, and she did a webinar with us a couple of years ago, and she connected the dots with Easy Water in that webinar, saying that when you see the blood form like this, that's an indication that Easy Water, that fourth phase of water, that Easy zone is expanding. And so we're showing some correlation or some indications that we are improving the environment internally, helping the body function better. Here's another one. So we have a few different types of let's see here. I hit the wrong button. Let's see. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Okay. So then this one is with our large field conditioner, our geofield conditioner. This is what we use on farms. This is what we put in clinics or office parks and buildings. We use it for our EMF safe events as well. But this is a box with 4 of our plates, stacked plates, And this was a dentist who was doing live blood as well. And before he got the conditioner, his blood was on the left. You can see it's not shaped well. If it was a video, it wasn't moving, it wasn't flowing very well. But after 3 days, he did his blood again, and you can see the shape and all that. It just developed really well, really nicely. So that was for him a really big encouragement that these plates, while mysterious, but when we're working with physics, it's these frequencies, these signals are actually interacting with the body, and because it's light, it's all natural light. It's not a stimulating aspect; it's a balancing aspect. There's a place for the photobiomodulation, those specific frequencies. But I like to think of how do we create a balanced, natural environment, and that's what these plates can really help to do. Other ways you can analyze this is with a biowell device. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Maybe some of you have these, but it helps analyze the light that's emitted from your body. So by capturing the subtle electrical impulses from our fingertips, the biowell maps your vitality with precision, and it has decades of research. It's used by holistic practitioners, scientists, and wellness seekers worldwide. BioWell is our window into novel insights. So I've been able to use the BioWell on individuals and on farms and in hotels, clinics, even in event spaces, to show a shift that happens when we introduce this photonic resonant harmonic technology. So it's all about how do we get the light back to being balanced. Now, some of the things that we see are with just our smaller plates. This is one I'm wearing right now. Just after 5 minutes, you see the nervous system alignment actually improved from 70% on this person to 89% in just 5 minutes. So it responds pretty quickly. Another person, their alignment went from 78% to 90%. So doesn't have to take long for the body to react. Again, our body's responding to the environment every split second. And when we can shift that environment, that's why going out in the sun in the morning, watching that sunrise can have a beneficial effect. Now, what the BioWell has shown us is that we could go out, I could do the BioWell study in the morning at the sunrise. Sorry, not sunset, sunrise. And we would still see some stress effects in the environment because we have the pollution from non-native EMF along with natural EMF, and that pollution, depending on how strong that is really affects how the body responds to it. So in a hotel or buildings, this is what we see. The red and orange is this heightened state of stress from the environment. And when we put a resonant photonic harmonic device and set it up, we instantly see the environment shift and become more balanced. The algorithm here is called the activity level of the environment. And when it's green, it's more conducive to life. So it's more balanced. It's going to support, like with the dentist who did his live blood analysis, it's going to help support the body's natural desire to be in harmony. There are other factors that come in play. This is not the only thing, obviously, but it creates a foundation that we can build on, because light, the foundation of light, is electromagnetic. It is frequency, and so we're helping support that, and that helps us work with our clients, with our patients, and with our families and those we love to create this kind of balanced environment. Water is also a great deal for us to work with to show what's happening. You can just take the plates and you can infuse this light into the water. And what happens is that it becomes more structured. You see the one on the left was one that was treated. The one on the right was one that was not. Both came out of the tap at the same exact time, put in the freezer at the exact same time for the exact same amount of time. And you can see that the water just had a different structure to it. So what do we see? We see that we can improve the coherence, improve your energy, and lower the chaos in the body. And this is what the BioWell helps us show. So another gentleman independent to us, Marius de Alexander, did a case study on our pendants, and he found that the body was harmonized. And this bioresonance device is called the PS10. It's developed out of Germany, and it looks at 126 different points in the body from the list is here, and you'll see, like, for EMFs, they measured 6 fundamental frequencies. Geopathic stress, they measured 9 frequencies. The anterior lobe of pituitary, 3. Posterior lobe of the pituitary, 3. Pineal, thalamus, weak defense, thymus, eyes, retina. So the eyes here were, all of those frequencies that they analyzed were harmonized, meaning there's balance. Doesn't mean things are healed. We're not healing. What we're creating is an environment where the body's natural abilities can start to produce the healing modality. And then the other modalities or therapies or approaches that you already work with and already integrate start to have a better platform to work on. One analogy that I've used in the past, I don't know if it works or not, but is on Broadway, you've got professional musical theater, professionals, right? They're amazing at what they do, and they're on stage, and that stage is calm. There's no movement in the stage. But if I was to go up onto that stage and I put a shaker on it to where it was shaking 60 hertz a second and vibrating, and it was noisy and ruckus, even those professional Broadway actors, they would have a hard time singing on note. They'd have a hard time dancing. They'd have a hard time reading the cues from each other. It wouldn't be a great performance. But as soon as we turn that shaker off and the stage goes back to being calm again, all of a sudden the performers come out and they do exactly what they were trained to do, and they do it excellently. And it's the same thing in our body. Once we can get rid of that EMF noise, then our body's going to do what it was designed to do to the genetic ability that it can, and the physical ability that it can. And that's where it takes different. We need to start stacking things to help get our health back. So this is what we see with the bioresonance study, that all these things became harmonized and balanced. And the author just says, he has no financial interest. So it was just a totally independent analysis that he did, and he's done it now several times with multiple people. Another really fascinating story about this was a lady named Amy. She had 14 years of systemic mold, EMF, and actually multiple chemical sensitivity as well. And when she started using our plates, she used our largest light tower and that geofield EMF conditioner, and she was able to reverse those symptoms. Before she found us, she was wearing Faraday cloth for her clothing, and if she went into town, she'd get exposed to the EMF, the cell towers. That EMF from those cell towers causes mold to grow 600% faster, and it would build up in her ears, in her head is where the mold was stuck, and she'd have to come home and use hydrogen peroxide for 45 minutes, 3 times a day on each side, and it was just totally disruptive. And she was a beautiful lady, but she was so hopeless. She just had 14 years. She just didn't know what else to do. She'd done everything she could. The mold specialist that she wanted to go see, she lives in Idaho. That mold specialist is in Kansas City. It's too long of a drive for her to be able to go to, because of her health was so fragile. She's like, it would have killed me. Well, 14 days. I guess I interviewed her 30 days after, but she said within 2 weeks she was feeling so much stronger, and the symptoms from EMF had come down so far that she had been able to call that mold specialist and said, made an appointment. And after I met with her in 30 days, she said in 2 days she was going to go see that doctor. She was going to leave town, drive that distance. She hadn't gone anywhere in over a decade. So it was a huge change for her, and quality of life. And she's continued to heal. That was about a year and a half ago. And she's continued to heal and recover. Colleen, somewhat similar story. When she was living in Boston, when Boston became a smart city, she was a concert opera singer, and her voice, she lost her singing voice. She became sick. Her headaches, migraines, digestion issues. Her body just started to collapse, and she was in pain. She also had to start wearing Faraday cloth for protection, and she got rid of her cell phone. She tried to reduce and remove as much exposure as possible. Well, that only was going so far, and then we met. She started using our products, and in 6 months she was able to actually travel to overseas. And that was a big deal because her husband, who is a music professor and does the trumpet, he'll go overseas in the summer to teach over there, and she wasn't able to travel with him. So she got her life back, and she says she's now able, this was now about 3.5 years, still uses the products. They still work perfect for her. And she goes, now I'm able to do a deeper, better work than I was before. So it's pretty exciting. This is what the products look like. They're stainless steel plates. It's not so much about the products, it's talking about really about how much the environment is affecting us and how we need to be taking that into consideration. Because these pregnancies rates in cattle are dropping when they're around wind farms and when they're around non-native EMF exposure. And just as they are in animals, they're happening in people too. And with satellites now, there's just really no escape. So if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, I think what we've covered today is not just about EMF. It's more, and it's not even just about light. It's not just about the technology that surrounds us. It's about understanding that our body is more than just chemical or biological. It's actually, there's an electrical component that we want to incorporate and be considering. It's light responsive. It's constantly interacting with the environment around it. And whether we're aware of it or not, that environment is shaping how we feel, how we function, and how we heal. So for a long time, the conversation around health, at least from my perspective, and I don't, is focused almost entirely on inputs, what we eat, supplements we take, medications we use. But there's been a shift over the last 10 or 15 years into thinking more about beginning to understand how the environment affects us and how to consider that environment in the total care of our patients. And so asking our patients to stop and evaluate, what's the environment like at home? What's the environment like at work where we spend our time? And is that environment helping us or hurting us? Because our biology is not operating in isolation. It's responding moment by moment to the signals it's immersed in. And today, those signals are very different than they were even 50 years ago. We have way more artificial light, more electromagnetic exposure, more electrical noise. We can't escape it. And at the same time, we're seeing more people struggle with energy, sleep, and focus and long-term health challenges. And it doesn't mean EMF is the only cause, but it does mean it's a piece of the puzzle I don't think we can ignore. I don't want us to ignore. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to share this with you, to bring this into the conversation, because I like to say it's no longer an inconvenience. I believe it's a crisis. For many people, it may be the missing piece. So what do we do moving forward? It means we begin to think differently. Instead of asking only what do I need to add or remove, we start asking what kind of environment are we operating in? Are the signals around me supporting my healthy function, or are they interfering with it? Is my body receiving clear, coherent input or constant noise? Because when the environment improves, the body often responds in ways that can feel surprising. And this is where awareness begins. And we remove that depression, remove that fear, that overwhelm feeling, that hopelessness, and we begin to give that empowerment again. And once we understand it, we begin to make those different choices. We become more intentional about our light, our space, our environment, and how we support our body. And we begin to look for solutions that don't just block, but actually support the biology. That's the space my research has taken me. That's where essential energy is working. It's not a replacement for everything. It actually is a layer, I believe, that helps address something that has maybe been overlooked or just not been able to be addressed. I think it's helping address something that we've missed in a real way. And we're, at the same time, we're building this network of EMF safe clinics that we refer people to help the sensitive people know that they can go into a clinic and not be exposed to all those frequencies or are harmful, not be harmed by them. We're not blocking again, we're just harmonizing. So my goal, I hope I didn't was not to convince you of much other than to give you a new lens or a new perspective to think deeper about it, but also to see that, like, hey, there's that biophysics layer underneath driving so much of our biology and our chemistry. And when you understand the role of light and water and electromagnetic signals, you can incorporate that into how you view health and your practice. And you can support your patients better, I think, and help them make more informed decisions that support their body and help prevent them from unknowingly working against it by not addressing that EMF environment. So I guess, Dr. Clearfield, as we move into questions, I want you to think about that. What's in your environment? Might it be influencing your health that you haven't considered before? And what would change if that environment began to support you instead of challenge you? So that's where the conversation, I think, really begins. And we can go from there. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. A couple of questions here. You said that mold produces, or EMF exposure produces mold by 600x or advances it by.
Yeah.
Okay, and someone they were asking for a source for that. So.
Okay. Yep, I can pull it up.
Okay. And something about wind farms. It mentioned. What about solar farms or rooftop solars?
Yeah.
Any issues with those?
The issue on the main issue for wind farms or solar is the dirty electricity from the inverters. Those inverters create that dirty electricity, and that's what's going to go on the wire then, and that'll have the effect on us.
Okay. And then the next question is, how does one get evaluated? Are there plates energized on each special frequency?
You can, so deciding with him to be evaluated. That's where I think the biowell actually comes into play really well.
All right, Dr. Gerber. Here we go again. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Dan.
Oh yeah, I think the good evaluation is using a body voltage meter or a biowell device. You can use tri-meters or like a tri-field TF2 to see the amount of EMF you have, and it also can measure the electrical and the magnetic field, so you can see the Gauss meters, but those aren't measuring the biological effect. That's what I really appreciate about the biowell, is it actually shows the effect of the light emitting from the body and the effect that has on us. Also, you could do mitochondrial function analysis. There's ways to do that to measure how much function your mitochondria have, as well as the bioresonance testing. I know a lot of biofeedback specialists who use biofeedback And in the biofeedback, there's an EMF stress response bucket or a module that they'll use to evaluate their patients as well.
Okay. How does one figure out dirty versus clean energy?
The best way, proven way, is with an oscilloscope. You can wire the oscilloscope right into the outlet. You have to use a filter on that. There's a specific type of filter that you put between the outlet and the oscilloscope, but with the right settings. And there's folks online that have done this that show it. But then you can actually see the sine wave itself and what that looks like. I can show you pictures of before and after, or what that looks like. But the oscilloscope with the right filter is the best way to see that. There are other filters. There's a line meter. Trifield produces a line meter. Other companies do a line meter that you can plug it in to an outlet, and it will show, they say is dirty electricity, and it does. It shows something, but it's not the full picture. That's all. Over the last 5 years of doing this research and working primarily, I came across this mainly with dairy farmers because they run into this so often. But then I realized it was everywhere. But I realized that what those plug-in meters reveal is only part of the problem. But the oscilloscope is great because it can show all the entire all the noise. And it's interesting too, because it shows like every device that you have plugged in or you use has its own frequency, so you can see if you have the oscilloscope running and you turn on a light switch, that peak will all of a sudden show up. If you turn it off, it'll go away. Same with like so that way you can isolate, you can see what's on the line and what isn't causing a problem.
Someone asked about also as a follow-up about a green filter.
What was the name of, you said green? Was that green wave?
Green filters. Shungite, Shungite.
Yeah, that was me. Thank you for this great lecture, by the way. And green filter, I got it from the United Kingdom. It's supposed to help with like dirty versus clean energy because the EMF was really bad in my daughter's room when she was dealing with depression. And for some reason, this green filter, I was like, I would put a Cheeto on my forehead if it worked to help, And so it seemed to help, but I didn't know if it was legit or if it was more placebo. And then also, what were your thoughts on like shungite or tourmaline that people say helps block EMF?
Yeah. So the shungite, that's what I do appreciate about God's beautiful creation is there are certain minerals or rocks or things that have properties to them that can block certain frequencies. Minerals can help mitigate some of this as well. But what I find is that like if I put shungite between a microwave and an EMF meter, I'll see a reduction in radio frequency or microwave radiation from the microwave. But and that's all I would put in the bucket of reducing EMF exposure. What I find with the body is because the body's always adapting to the environment, when you get a body, when your body starts to, when you expose it to that shungite or other minerals that might have certain blocking properties, the body's going to adapt and it's going to utilize those frequencies and want to do more. And as the body starts to heal and recover, it's looking for different information, different nutrition, different frequencies. And those particular rocks or minerals don't adapt with the body, whereas light does. And so I think the longevity for using a resonant photonic harmonic device is that it's working in nature with light to continue to feed that balanced light environment that the body's going to continue to utilize as it heals. Still, minerals and different things have their place alongside of it, but they're limited. And I think a lot of people find that after a few weeks of use or so, maybe the effects just aren't as noticeable, but it's because their body shifted and the body's looking for something else. It's my interpretation of that.
That makes
But they can,
absolute sense. Yeah. Thank you.
okay, great.
Dan, being asked about your contact information, is it what I have, or
Yeah.
we have
Yep.
some other.
No, you can go to, my email is dan@essentialenergy.us. So dan@essentialenergy.us. My kind of desk number best direct number would be 509-340-1962. That's 509-340-1962. And our website, if you're interested in that, is essentialenergy.us. I think one of the things I thought about with if I can talk about this now, is we've been, over the last 6 months, I kind of launched a program called like an EMF safe clinic program. And this is to help clinics create a safe space, a safe, environmentally safe space, but also you could become a practitioner, a reseller, or affiliate for the products as well. I have a QR code or a link on our website that you can go and fill out a quick form, and our team, we could follow up. Is that something I could show real quick?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. So while we're getting the next question, I'll bring up
We have Dr. Siegel wants to share some of her experiences, and we know how unreliable she is. So go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to call
I
on
love
her.
you too, Bill. Okay, so when I first met Dan, we were doing some projects together, and he took me out to this brand new permaculture farm. Dan, how many acres does that guy have out on the east coast of Florida?
Yeah, Jim, he has it's only about 45 to 50, I think. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 140. Thank you.
Yeah, he had 140 acres, and it was a very
Yeah.
newly planted permaculture forest. And as I'm walking through, I'm seeing that most of the plants were just in sand because they hadn't had a lot of time to regenerate. They were less than 2 years old, and yet the productivity of these trees was remarkable. And so I started inquiring, and Dan had one of his 4 plate systems on the property, and it was absolutely changing the way these plants were interacting, and then able to consequently utilize water and light, and their production was incredible. The second thing was Dan and I were going to do an experiment, and I was going to measure my heart rate variability and my sleep cycles, and then I was going to wear the pendant. And he sends me the product. Just coincidentally, at the same time, my utilities company wanted to put a smart meter on my house. I have solar on my house. And so we were quite arguing about this. And I had finally agreed that they would put it on, and then I was going to put a Faraday cage on, and all was going to be good. Well, they jumped my fence and they put the smart meter on my house without my permission before I had acknowledged it and agreed to it. So when I started doing the measurements, looking for my sleep and my heart rate variability, I was getting 0 deep sleep, and I could feel it. And I was having heart arrhythmias. And about a week later, I discovered that they had the smart meter on my house. I put the Faraday cage on the smart meter, and within 8 hours, my heart arrhythmias went away. It did take me 12 hours to recover my adrenals. I mean, it took me weeks and weeks to recover my adrenals with active therapy. And then the other interesting thing was I have bees on my property. And when they put the smart meter on my house, my bees left the hive. After Dan's device was in place for a couple of months, the bees literally, I have this on video, came back to an empty hive, cleaned it, and not only rebuilt themselves, but they made a boatload of honey. And my bees are still here doing well. And then my last incident, Dan and I had just done a little webinar, and it was late at night. We were leaving my office, and I tripped on the curb in my own driveway of the office, and I'm just gouged my knee. I mean, it was like I was hauling, I had a bunch of stuff in my hand, and because I was carrying my computer, I didn't want to drop the computer. So I took the full force of the fall on my knuckles and on my knee, and the pain was excruciating. I took Dan's little small, I just had the 4-inch plate, and I just was shining it at my knee for less than 1 minute. I cannot make this up. And the pain was gone. And then I have videos showing I was totally healed in about 72 hours. I still have a scar. That's how deep, went all the way down to the bone. So I just washed it with ozone. I used his device, and then the next day I lasered it. And 72 hours, I had no pain, no swelling, not limping, and it fully healed. It was really remarkable. So that was my experience with it. I am totally bought into it.
Marlene, I'll tell you, just this weekend, last week, my daughter, 11-year-old, she jammed her finger, and we thought it was broken. It was bruised and everything. And she put her hand, we used some ozone, but we put her hand over the light tower for the night. And she woke up in the morning, and like almost all the bruising was gone. And now it looks like it was just a jammed finger, but it looked like it was pretty much broken beforehand. So it was pretty remarkable.
I don't think we really appreciate how badly our bodies are struggling with this. When I travel, I always travel with my light plates, and I have no jet lag. I went to Bangkok and back, and no jet lag either direction. And I really can only attribute it to the fact that I am maintaining some degree of balance in my body.
Yeah. Okay, this is the right QR code. Sorry, the other one went to my newsletter sign up. This is the actual one for the EMF Safe Clinic. Thank you. Yeah.
May I ask a question, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah, a few years back, I came across this similar kind of information, and I set out to try to make my home EMF less or free by getting devices that plug into the outlets to make your internet access through the wires instead of Wi-Fi, that kind of thing. I set everything up, connected the internet to go, and I'm a radiologist reading at home, and then I was running out of time. I flipped the switch to hope it all would come up and I could read, and nothing worked. So I had to disassemble everything, start over, and just put it back the way it was so I could work. Do you know anybody that I can contact that would assist trying to accomplish this in my home?
Yeah, if you're wanting to go,
or do I do something different with what you already have to accomplish the same thing?
right, yeah. I would, so if you want to go around the route of blocking or shielding, I think, and this will answer, Joni, your question about blocking paint. It's best if it's new construction, because it's very involved. There's a company called Shielded Healing that's been doing that for a while, and they can come in, they'll do a test, cost a couple grand, I think, to do the on-site analysis. And there's also people called building biologists. There's a whole organization called the Building Biologists Association, and they're trained with all their EMF meters to come find where the hot spots are and provide solutions. Their solutions are going to usually be filters that you plug in, making sure your house is so what I appreciate about them is they'll make sure the house is grounded. If it's not grounded well, sometimes the house isn't grounded well, and that's a big deal. If we find this in milking parlors with dairies all the time, if their parlor is not grounded, they run into major problems. Same with homes. But some of their solutions get pretty expensive too. If you're going to try to paint your whole house, or you've got to really be complete about that. And it does work. I mean, blocking paint does block it if you do it right. I think it has to be grounded as well, but if you do it right, it does block the signals. I just encourage people to be strategic, because if you try to do that in just your bedroom, because if you try to do your whole home, there's just leakage everywhere. You get cracks through the door. Like photons are very small. They'll go through anything. If you have little cracks in the window or the door or even the curtains, your Faraday cage so much is broken. And even the folks at Shielded Healing will tell me that the their solutions don't block radio waves like AM, FM radio. So you're still getting EMF exposure, and radio waves are, there's a whole group of people, myself included, who would argue that the 19 Spanish flu was made kind of worse by all this this new radio towers that were deployed between 1914 and 1918 for World War I, and by 1918 there were 30 of them around the world, and then everybody started to get sick. So I mean, it's a theory, but it does follow. Like if you look at microwave sickness syndrome, there's a lot of similar diseases, or symptoms associated with that. So our solution is to harmonize, and our plates you get the right size, can protect a whole home up to a ranch, 10,000 acres. That's a mile. We just had them measured last week by someone, and he measured it. It had a 2-mile radius, the device that we use on our large farms. But though the device can go in your home, it isn't as much the area that we're protecting as much as the exposure to EMF. So the more, like, there's a clinic that Dr. Siegel knows down in Scottsdale. We put in our large, what we call the elite ranch guard, or the elite conditioner. She doesn't have 10,000 acres, but her clinic is in the middle of Scottsdale with a cell tower at the end of the parking lot. Her exposure is so high that to create that balanced environment, she did that. And then she did the sign tamer, which is that yellow and black box there. And that is what you put on the electrical panel to clean up the dirty electricity. So in my mind, in talking with the gentleman from the sign tamer company, that was developed 40 years ago for the Department of Defense and NASA. It's used in companies worldwide, labs worldwide, to really cut the noise down on the electricity. And that combination would accomplish, Adam, what you're looking for from a biological perspective. Your EMF meter will still see a frequency, but your biology will read something different.
Can you provide some idea of cost on these?
Yeah, so like so we can start from the small ones, the wearables. I had got the necklace. This is the one that Marlene had when the smart meter got put on her house. So even something it's a 1-inch square plate, this size, $229. This 2.5-inch one is $359. And then let's see, I can probably then this is the elite light tower. There's a 4-inch size. This is 5 inches. There's a 4-inch size. It has actually multiple plates. There's 4 plates stacked together. That's the design of what we call the light tower. So these are energy plates, and then the light tower is 4 energy plates. And the 4-inch one is $1999. The Pro Plus is $24.99, and then this 5-inch one is $49.99. The units we use on the farms or in clinics can be either $7,900, and then the largest one we have is $18,000. So they get spendy. They were originally developed in the late 90s or early 90s, and continue to be developed and have R&D on them, but they are very, deep precision, and the technology to embed these, or basically infuse these frequencies and change the plates at the molecular level You probably warrants a explanation. That's called plasmonics, is the process for that. And it's used in a lot of different industries, but even like making computer chips or semiconductors, the size of these circuits are so small, like Intel, they can't use a physical way to embed to build the chips. So they use a plasma field to do that.
Sure.
So that's what we use to change the molecular structure and alignment of the metals. And so they are spendy, but it's a one-time deal, which is nice.
Sure.
You don't have to buy
That's
them
really
again.
neat.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill.
Yep.
Dr. Gerber here. I don't have my video on. I have it on, but it's not. I can't screen through him. In any event, very good information. I was wondering if Dan is aware of Blue Shield technology.
Yeah, well, we'll ask him. Dan, are you aware of Blue Shield technology?
I am aware of Blue Shield, yes. And Blue Shield, they're friends, great guys, great company. The philosophy is just different. So we're harmonizing light and using the natural light spectrum to change our bioharmony. Blue Shield uses a frequency generator. And so they use electricity to create frequencies that act like a noise canceling headphone. So their frequencies are counter frequencies. And I think they run into some of the same issues that some of these minerals or shungite run into that I was mentioning from a longevity perspective. Absolutely, people have reported benefits with Blue Shield. But they aren't, it doesn't, I don't, I get calls from people from 8 years ago still using the same necklace, wondering if they need to upgrade, but they feel fine. They don't know if they need to or not. So because our plates will continue to give the bioresonance for a lifetime, right? As long as the plates are taken care of. Like I just say, if you love your plates, they'll love you back. Because the actual metal is changed and it's working with nature in nature to improve the quality of light and that whole light environment. So it's not a certain frequency. It's not the frequencies are actually all the mineral frequencies are baked in there, plus the full spectrum of the sunlight spectrum. So Blue Shield's great, but I think it runs into the same thing. And my challenge is like, if electricity is the problem, is what's stressing our cells and our mitochondria, is it the best option to use electricity to solve it? I think it's a temporary fix. Maybe it's like peak pulsed EMF devices. I still would say they're not as good as sunlight or getting natural light, but there is a therapeutic benefit to pulsed EMF that you can't argue. If you know how to use it right, it can be beneficial. And maybe that's the same thing with these Blue Shield, like frequency generator. If you know how to use it right, you can get a benefit, but it's not going to give you that full spectrum frequency that natural light will give you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about EMF blocking paint?
Yeah, I think we addressed that earlier with Adam's question, that it has its place. Again, you just need to know how to use it. I would probably use it
He likes Blue Shield
on the wall of my bedroom, not to create a Faraday cage, but to block. If I have like in New York, they were putting in these 5G towers at, the second story level. So these people in those apartment buildings open up their window in the morning, they're looking at this 5G tower. I would absolutely shield that really heavily, right? Because why not? Why not block what you can? But don't rely on that to be the only thing that's going to restore your body. Because as soon as I leave that second story apartment, I'm now fully exposed. So that's what's nice to have these guys, because they can go with you everywhere and keep you in balance.
Okay. And How do you protect a car driving on roads with G towers or heavy EMF?
Well, as far as the car goes, you can actually put one of these light towers in the trunk or the back seat of a car, and it'll harmonize the vehicle as well. But again, I would just go to, if you're wearing one of our necklaces, your body is going to be harmonized, and that'll be protecting you from all the 5G towers that you pass by, and all the radar that comes in from all these cars that use lane, lane sensing technology or driver assist. All that's all millimeter wave technology, and it's toxic for us. We'll still be exposed, but with this, it seems like with our research that we are managing to protect ourselves and keep our body harmonized, or at least restore it to harmony immediately after we're beyond out of that exposure.
Okay. What about pets? Any advice for protecting
Absolutely.
pets?
I work with a lot of vets, and speaking of Dr. Marlene Siegel, we do that. And you can put the necklaces right on the collar. So if your pet has a collar, you could put it right there. I'm also currently working on to design a vest that a dog or a cat could wear. In the meantime, if you have a device that are in your home that's protecting the whole house, the pets are going to be protected. But pets are very sensitive, perhaps even more so because they've got all 4 feet on the ground, and you got stray voltage. You've got voltage going through the ground that is often not even discussed. It's called stray voltage, and they can be affected by that. They're also lower to the ground. They're right neck at the same level as outlets. And that's where you get the electrical and the magnetic field from your wires. So I don't know, Dr. Siegel, would you have an opinion or anything to add into that and what you've seen with pets?
No, I think you did a great job. It's really protecting the environment, and then the personal protection, and then just being more conscientious about what we're doing with EMF. Get rid of your smart toys, get your dirty electricity resolved, and as much as you can, turn off your Wi-Fi at night. And when you're not home, turn it off so that the animals aren't exposed.
Okay. Next question is, do animals have a different frequency than humans? Are we looking for grounding so the voltage is 0?
Are we talking about the different organs and frequencies? Because they are very similar, but they're based on density and weight. And so there are some differences, but I use the same frequencies that were mapped for humans on the animals with great efficacy.
Great. Dr. Nario, do you have anything online? Any questions?
No, just for me personally, there's so many devices out there that's like this. How do you determine which is which is quality, what is not quality?
Meters.
I look at which ones have longevity to them, and what is it really doing for the body. Is it that's what I landed on with these plates. Was once I started to understand the biophysics of what was going on, I realized products that have minerals or semiconductors in them, or design like built-in frequencies that were finite, would be limited. But because we're using the ability, because we're able to create this resonant photonic harmonic of light, it's full spectrum. And then the testimonies speak for themselves, but also we've had some independent studies, and the live blood analysis is beneficial as well. But then other experts that have used them themselves and with no financial gain, so to speak, to support it or back it up. But I would like to ask a company, who's had it the longest out of your company, and can I talk with them, and are they still getting a benefit? Because That's what I find. I get people calling me from several years ago. And these were developed in the early 90s. And there's 8 years ago, I was down in Australia and I met a guy who um, had cut his finger with a table saw, and it went right through all the way to the base of the second knuckle. And they sewed it back up, and then he took the light tower and put it on with like an ace bandage, so it was more like a splint. Now the doctor was like, "You're never gonna." He was a musician. You're not gonna get nerve function again. You're not gonna be able to play music again. But I saw him 6 months after the incident, and all he had was a little white line in his nail, and he had full feeling and nerve function, and could feel and play his guitar again. And that was 8 years ago that they were getting that type of response. Before that, and they have testimonies of a lady had before and after pictures of a glaucoma that had been improved when they she wore the plates over her eyes for a period of time at night for a few months. And someone a firefighter, had third-degree burns around it all over his body, and 3 months later of using the plates 3 times a day for about an hour, he had no scar tissue remaining. So I find those pretty compelling, but I also find the work that we get to do with the farmers, with the animals and the soil and the crops, those stories are pretty, I don't know. They just give me confidence, and know that when I share this, I get the same response from people that I've never met, that I've had personally. And this has just grown from me sharing it with friends and family to now here I am talking with you all, and introducing you to something that's could really help a lot more people.
Yeah, it's a good product. There's so many ones out there. So
I got a couple questions, Doc, after Joni. She has a question too.
Thoughts on bioharmonic vibe beds?
I am not directly familiar with a bioharmonic vibe bed. Sounds
there's
cool,
different
though.
sound frequencies. It's pretty cool. I have one. It helps with neuroplasticity. And so what I see with it is actual, the blood that I take for platelet-rich fibrin, and, besides optimizing it from a microvascular standpoint, we just see healing faster. With patients with TBI, PTSD, and, even just the quality of the blood, even under slides and looking at it.
Yeah.
But it's like, which is first, it's multifactorial. It's hard to limit what exactly it is, but it does improve things. Because to me, it's vibration, right? Everything has a response to vibration and sound waves and such. Just like if you had water and you flicked the glass, it's going to be different vibration based if somebody tapped it, or, you know what I mean? But this bed I found when one of my daughters was having insomnia from, PTSD, and she slept for 13 hours after we used it the first time. And I thought, gosh, we need to have this in my office because this could help anybody. Worst case, it doesn't help them. But what I found with this bed by using it is that people who have, been through a lot of trauma, it helps them to just get in that pre-REM state. You can even tell with people that wear Oura rings, all that kind of stuff. Even at night when their blood glucoses were soaring before from cortisol, that they actually level out more. And the only adjustment or difference is this bioharmonic bed. So, it has to do with the frequencies that you're talking about. I just didn't know if there's any correlation, because is that bioharmonic frequency healing EMF exposure? I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah. So I think sound frequencies are very healing. Sound therapy can be very healing. It's very complementary to light therapy that we're working with. I use a sound therapy device that I wear on my wrist, and when I do those together, I see a greater efficacy of both. And so I think it's a great solution, and something that you could easily incorporate even with the plates to stack your modalities with the sound and light.
That makes sense. And the vibration of the bed. So there was
Okay.
the
Yeah.
guy that actually did it was a chiropractor, but he's a musician, and he has some like different frequencies of sound that he's come up with. It's pretty cool. And
That's
so
great.
just as you were saying how, we become, adjusted, or like the shungite, right? You get kind of used to it. And, the neat thing is that there's always different playlists that he'll send out. And so it's really
Yeah.
neat.
Very cool.
Thank you for this evening's lecture. Is incredible. Thank you. And I will be getting plates soon. So thank you.
Thank you.
Get all these questions. Any experience with fused quartz glass?
Well, just a little bit. I mean, fused quartz glass will receive the light and actually focus it even more. It'll amplify it. And it'll retain that. You can actually embed the frequencies from the plates into the quartz glass, but I personally haven't played with it a whole lot. I've had a couple other researchers do more on that front. But myself, I haven't really spent a lot of time with it.
Okay.
Okay, I was going to ask
Joe,
about
go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Thanks, Doc. Your essential flow pendant and your essential active energy plate, do you recommend doing them both, or do you have an opinion on one or the other? And does it depend on like your job situation, driving situation, and so forth?
Yeah, the active plate is larger. The strength of the plates or the products come from the total surface area that is on the plates. So we say it's about 10 times approximately stronger than the flow.
Okay.
The bioresonance study that I showed you in the webinar was done with the flow. So we know that even the smaller one is harmonizing us. The difference is that the larger plates will help optimize your function faster. And so
Okay.
I would say it depends on how sensitive you are to the EMF,
Right.
your work environment, and the convenience. Which one are you going to wear the most between the two? The necklace is pretty easy to wear around your neck. This one I do wear around my neck from time to time. That seems to be optimized when it's right over the thymus.
Right.
Helps the immune system, and then there's a lot of blood oxygen exchange there too, so you get the resonance into the blood that flows through the whole body. The other thing is with the active, it'll come with the leather sleeve, and it has a wristband too, so you can wear it easily in the pocket or on your wrist or your ankle. So there's a few different ways to do that. Any of the plates, when you align them with your body's electromagnetic circuit or energy flow, it actually has like that's kind of how you want to think about how you wear them, is are they aligned with the body or not? So when it's on the thymus like that, it's vertical, straight up and down. And that's so yeah, you can't go wrong with either one. It's just kind of as a preference, I think. And if you're more sensitive, you already know, like, that, hey, that cell phone just bothers me, I would encourage the larger one.
And then the other one was, there's a lot of talk about the calcium channels and so forth. Some people are trying to figure out ways to use calcium or magnesium or certain supplements. Have you heard of any research or anybody using that in conjunction with this and the shungite and the paints and the grounding mats and all the above?
Yeah, I think that it's just really still an area where people are not. There's nothing defined yet as far as which supplements really work all the time. Magnesium is a big one, manganese as well, and then but boron and selenium seem to be the two that I see more often than not having a real benefit for people who have EMF sensitivity.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay. One more question from Dr. Collins here. Her and her daughter noticed they get shocked easily and electronics break around them. Any thoughts on that?
this is where we're all so unique, and how we interact with the environment around it, how our body's operating. I think that's our nervous systems can be affected genetically, environmentally, as well. And so I would look at grounding more, like getting outside, putting your bare feet on the ground.
Mhm.
That can be corrected, but it could take a little while. Um, but it is about grounding. You can, even when you're grounding, you can put your left hand up in the air and it creates a better connection, like the north, positive, negative connection with the earth and with the atmosphere to help discharge the voltage. Um, but there's a percentage of people who that runs into. There's even people who they put a watch on their wrist and it stops working, or it
Yeah,
goes. So,
that's happened. And Apple, anything it breaks, or like car fobs break. It's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I would say it's more of a voltage thing, and there are therapeutic magnets. So not your kind of refrigerator magnets, but they're usually black and red. I would research maybe those. Maybe there's something, because we can become our polarity can be shifted, or like mixed polarity or reverse polarity in our body. And sometimes just a one-time visit can actually shift that polarity back and could potentially correct that too.
Thank
But
you so much.
more research to do
Love
your,
it. Love it.
yeah.
Love it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
go ahead, Shell.
Well, I have a video on YouTube, Crystal Healing with Fire Ceremony. And this goes back to Ayurveda and Agnihotra, which is a Vedic ritual. And what you do is you take an inverted pyramid with cow dung and ghee, and you chant mantras over it, and you put crystals on all the chakras in the feet and the head, and it balances the chakras. And this is done in the video on a platform, or, under a pyramidal structure. And it was done by Swami Naranda Devi, Edith Epstein, who was my Hatha yoga teacher. And it was organized by Ramurti S. Mishra, who was a medical doctor from India. And basically what you do is you chant over the fire, and the mantras and the light go into the crystals. They balance all the chakras and they heal. And the vibhuti, the ash, is also sacred ash that can heal too. So it goes back thousands of years, but there's something to it.
Yeah.
So, I invite everyone to watch the video. I posted it in the chat. And then if you want to hear Dr. Mishra, I did 4 nights of his program 4 months before I left his body, and I call it Night with Guruji. And I've written a book on it that I'm going to publish soon. And it's very interesting. It opens your mind, and, we need to look at everything we can and relate to whatever we can and do some good in the world.
I love it. Yeah. It's all frequency, and yeah, that makes total sense.
He said Sanskrit is the science of vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And these mantras and meditation help, and it works. Now, as far as the fused quartz glass, Bob Connolly from Toronto, who puts on the Tesla conferences every year, and he has a video called Tesla's Medicine, which is done very well on the streaming networks. He has some fused quartz that's made in China that he markets, and this is what Tesla used in the solariums, where they would just shine sunlight through it, and it had some very positive effects, where it ended up getting suppressed. But, Bob Conley's video is worthwhile watching. So we need to learn about light. We need to learn about frequency. Dr. Halassa talks about photobiomodulation, and he's a big proponent of methylene blue. And of course, methylene blue has a vibration and a color. And when you put the light on it, it can do amazing things. So, I think everybody's on the right path, and we all need to explore it more.
And where is Dr. Halassa these days? I can't find him.
Dr. Halassa is spending his time now in California in a big clinic that he's going to be a medical director.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sheila,
he's been awfully quiet.
Sheila, it was Bob Conley that I learned about that fused quartz glass several years ago. He gave a presentation at ASCP, and I was just thinking tonight it might be good to have him back on this if Bill was interested. It's pretty informative, and he's had other things that he's invented or come up with since.
Bob is a great videographer.
Yeah.
Get me a contact.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. I also heard psychedelics help with all this. Just saying. Great class. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here for so long, and especially to our guest here, Dan. Thank you for all the great information.
My pleasure.
I will have the video ready when it's ready. I'll send you contact information, email addresses and whatnot.
Dr. Bill,
Okay,
I wanted to mention Dr. Tano has a presentation that the birth rate on our planet is seriously lowering, that mankind may eventually become extinct. And he has a birth rate for every country in the world. So we're in trouble.
Well,
that's why we shared what we shared.
That's right.
I think we have a solution for that. So
okay.
And I'm gonna reach out to you in the next day or two, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Very informative.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan, for everything.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody have any conferences coming up? Any talks? Anything you'd want the group to know about?
I think we got one more question.
Oh, go ahead with the question.
Petronella.
Oh, me. I just wanted to say that there is a doctor from Dr. Brennan. He's from NASA, and he has a lot of YouTube videos about the frequencies. And he says, so one of his YouTube, it was that if we think positive, we raise our frequency, and then things happen in a positive way.
How do you spell the last name, Petronella?
Okay. Yeah, 1 second. He's very, very good, and he has such an interesting talks. And also Dr. Andreas Kalker, he's having now a course in frequencies, and he has very good, I was in his class, and he has doctors from South America that they reverse type 2 diabetes and type 1. And he has his own protocols, but it's very interesting with chloride dioxide, 3,000 pico. It is 1 liter divided for 10 hours, so 100 cc for each hour. This is the protocol that they use most. I'm looking to see here.
Thank you, Joni.
So I just wanted to say that I found it very interesting about these frequencies, and he has his theories, and I think it's interesting to watch him. I will tell you what is his name. 1 second. His name is Greg Brennan, and he's going to have a conference in Tampa Bay between, it says Pure Human Breakthrough, 4-day intensive retreat. Greg Braden, Braden, between 11 and 14 September 2026, Tampa Bay, Florida.
Oh, I lost it. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Did you say Greg Braden?
Yeah, Greg Braden.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank
he's
you.
pretty cool. Yeah, cool guy.
Regg and then Braden.
What I was going to guess. Yep.
Could we also ask Dan if he has any comments on nanobots and nanotechnology?
I don't like them.
Amen.
There's a company called The Shift that has a high frequency device that neutralizes them. So that's what I do that regularly throughout the day, and I do that over my food if
we can talk to you about that, or we can
somewhere I don't
get
trust.
the company.
Yeah.
Upcoming conferences, I'm speaking at the Blvd conference, which is the weekend of June 25th. And if you can go, it's an awesome conference. And if not, if you can just help promote it, we would really appreciate it.
Which one is that?
Blvd. It's a nice combination of practitioners and the public. So
Mhm.
great networking, and they have a really nice lineup this year. This is their
Okay.
third conference. It'll be in San Diego.
Send me the info. We'll put it in the newsletter.
Oh,
Okay.
great. Okay.
Okay. And anyway, how about Dr. Naria? What do you have going on? You always got something going on.
April 11 to 13, Spring Congress in Clearwater, Florida, A4M. Be there or be square.
Amen.
Well, I have April 15th and 19th in Miami. It's AMMG.
See, back to back.
I know that's Avis compared to you guys, but that's who calls me. Oh, and I don't know. I think I might have told you IFM invited me to their international conference at the end of May in San Diego also. So that's
You're gonna give us free tickets, right?
I don't even know if I get a free ticket. So, to tell you the truth. So
Dr. Bill, did you comment earlier about AASCP in Miami that was this last weekend? Or?
It was pretty interesting. They do these workshops. They do these cadaver workshops, and so I got to practice doing ganglion blocks in the hip and in the neck, and they have hands-on things there. So I always find that that's the second time I've done that. I found that pretty interesting.
You got a well-deserved award.
I got some award for it. I'm not exactly sure why, but it's nice to be acknowledged.
It's classified, right?
Yeah.
You're just being
Yeah,
modest.
it's classified.
Top secret.
Yes. In
Right.
case you didn't hear earlier, I was named the Scientist of the Year by the American Academy of the Stem Cell Physicians. So go figure. I don't know. So,
Congratulations.
what was that?
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a nice little trophy there, and I got it home without breaking it, which was a miracle of itself. Okay, but in the meantime, offered so Dan says he's got a 30-day money-back guarantee on personal devices and 90-day guarantee on EMF conditioners to help people try them out without risk. And
Nice.
Dr. Collins has some courses that she has at 1228wellness.com. And we're going to have you back with us on Tuesday night, Dr. Collins, because I found a lot of your information quite useful.
Agree.
So,
and Petronella.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So I think we're going to let the East Coast people go because it's after 10 o'clock there, and we're running into lots of time here. So, so anybody else have anything else? Dr. Quinn, how's the research group going?
Great. We didn't have a meeting this past Saturday. We'll have a big one coming up this coming Saturday. We also spent a good amount of time reviewing Dr. Tano's program a couple of weeks ago, which still shocks me at how complete and good it is. So we'll go over some of that and some of the other stuff this week, and I'll have a better report for you next week.
It's the Evolve AI.
Okay. Yep. Okay. All right, Dan, thank you so much for being here. We're here every Tuesday night, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. You're more than welcome to join us. And we've been doing it since 2020. And as far as I can tell, we're going to just keep going.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Good night, Dr. Nario.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
And
Bye,
we'll see
everybody.
you next week, same time, same station. We're going to have Stefan on. He was supposed to be on last week, but he got tied up with some political stuff. So he's going to be on next week talking about his direct primary care model. So we'll be doing that. Okay. See you next week.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. When is that cardiologist on?
The cardiologist.
Yes, Dr. Sam Fillingane. I thought you set him up for the 31st.
I don't know. Let me check. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's in April. I don't.
Okay. Yeah. I think he's in April. So.
And we might have. I'll see if I can get a hold of a friend of mine who uses, I forget her name, a cardiologist at the VA in San Francisco, and she's one of the top cardiologists in America, if not the world. We'll see if we can get her to speak too. She'd be powerful. I'll get the info to you, Doc.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.